We have a really exciting episode for you guys today. We're bringing on James Park. James is a current student at Western University, and he worked the past 2 summers in real estate. We're really excited to bring you his insights on the real estate market. Welcome, James.
Tell us a little bit more about where you worked and what you were kind of doing this summer.
Absolutely. So I've been lucky enough to work at Bancorp Financial Services. That's in real estate. So I think I can provide a lot of perspectives and insight on the real estate industry, particularly on the development finance side. So Bancorp is a private lender. We raise money from investors, and we manage 2 mortgage investment funds that we deploy and finance multifamily development projects across the GVA. Typically wood frames, 6 stories. That's conventionally our bread and butter product.
I guess from a non-real estate perspective, like maybe dumb it down a little bit. Like what are those like big fancy words
Okay,
mean
absolutely.
to the average
So
listener?
mortgage investment fund, or MIC, Mortgage Investment Corporation, it's just a corporate entity, corporate vehicle that allows us to go out and raise money from accredited investors. So retail investors can't invest in our fund. We have to do our KYC, which is a know your client, make sure that the money's not coming from like drug sales, or it's not money laundering, it's not going towards financing terrorism. And then only then can they invest in our products. And that's also, it's anti-predatory thing, so we're not taking advantage of unsophisticated investors, because it is a bit of a supposedly high risk product. And so we raise the money, and we'll go and we'll work with developers across Vancouver, and we'll work with them to finance their land purchases or construction loans. So land loans or construction loans for development projects, and that's in the form of mortgages. So we can take first mortgages or second mortgages. And so it's an opportunity for us to provide cash flow back to our investors in a very secure and stable investment, right? Because in a mortgage, we're at 75% loan to value, and your first mortgage, you hold first priority. That's a pretty stable investment that's going to provide you a good cash flow and good return, especially if you're older and you need a more stable investment product that you can't find elsewhere in the market.
How do you enjoy working in real estate? I know you've been in real estate for a while now. How's it been so far?
So one thing I really like about real estate is that it's a product unlike any other. Kind of like gas. Like everybody needs to put gas in their car. Everybody needs to charge their iPhone. Right? You need Wi-Fi and electricity. You also need a house. Everybody needs shelter and a place to live. So I think housing is it's a very unique asset class, and so that's my attraction towards real estate is how essential it is to the human way of life. And so I think because of that, it'll be a forever asset. It'll never be phased out like oil will be. And it'll be around forever.
Just knowing real estate and actually entering the real estate community is 2 very different things. So how did you go about first joining, and how long have you sort of been in that world for?
I've only ever worked in real estate, starting after the first year. And I think that's when I really decided that real estate is what I want to do. Because I said, wow, you know what, long term, that's when I decided I wanted to be a builder, a developer. And I think I've always been a more visual and hands-on kind of person, so the physical aspect of being able to build something from nothing has always attracted me. So I think that's when I realized, okay, in real estate I can literally build a physical asset that'll always be in demand from nothing, and that's what I love.
So what was the first thing you did in real estate? Did you join a club, or what was the introduction like?
So REC, Western Real Estate Club, just joined that casually as just a member in first year. That got me a little into it, and I applied to work at a QuadReal. And I ended up getting an interview at QuadReal, never got the job. So I ended up at Bancorp, but I'm very happy I ended up at Bancorp. I've learned a lot there. It's a great business. Gary Wong, the CEO there, he's done a great job. He's built a great team, one of the best. I love the people there. It's a great team. They've welcomed me, and I enjoy every part of the business.
It's interesting though that you mentioned that you started in first year, because we were just talking about the club that you were running, the case competition, and that was, you started in grade 12, like even before university?
Grade 10.
Grade 10, yeah. So it seems like you've been in real estate for a very long time as well, even before the real estate club. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And Hanson wasn't real estate focused, it was more entrepreneurship focused.
Oh, okay.
That was a student-led organization I founded in grade 10 that hosted high school case competitions. on the theme of entrepreneurship. So one of our case studies was actually on a local surfboarding, like wakeboarding business in White Rock, which is a very local business to Vancouver. Anyway, so that student organization was what I founded with William Shea from Saints. He's one of the smartest guys I've ever met. I think he's gone on to do some great things. But what really actually pushed me to start that was when we went to Mini and Strive. We went and we competed there as delegates, and those are high school case competitions that we went to compete as, not just as students. And we said, wow, I think we could do this better. I think we could. So we put our heads down. We went out, we contacted sponsors, and we worked with local players in the community, FDT, VASA, and Elite Education. And we were able to host high school case competition the next year. 2020 was our inaugural iteration. We had over 250 delegates come out, judges, guest speakers, workshop leaders, and we gave away over $10,000 in scholarships to debate and public speaking academies, and then as well as another $2,000 grand prize to the winning team to support whatever entrepreneurial venture they want to go off and start. Yeah, we said, we can make this event better. Like, I remember when I went to my first Mono UN conference, and that was like, grade 9, and you've never done anything like that before, and it's like, so you feel pretty impressed, right? I didn't feel that with my first case competition. Like, I enjoyed the content of it. I enjoyed doing the case and pitching it and whatever, but I didn't feel that same connection to the event, and so that's what I wanted to focus on, and said we could do much better, and I think that's what we did. I think we did a much better job of engaging the community and working with the community.
So is that something that you're still involved in, or you pass that on to the next generation of high school students?
So yeah, I passed that on. I ended up selling the organization to a group out of Berkeley, UC
wow.
Berkeley.
And from this competition, do you personally know anyone that's gotten the money to start up something or actually pursue an entrepreneurial venture?
No. I don't think. I'm not sure what happened to the winners that were winners. I haven't kept up. In communication.
Yeah, I guess we can go back to kind of your real estate job and your real estate internship specifically.
Mm-hmm.
What was the recruiting process like for a job like that? Because we're more used to a non-real estate job, so we kind of know what the interview processes are like there. But what in real estate, is it a lot about networking? Is it a lot about just knowing the right people? What's that all about?
Absolutely. I think, I don't think real estate is very much different to any other business or any other industry or sector. I think who you know is incredibly important, and networking is an incredibly important role. As for the recruitment process, I think it's a lot less technical than if you're trying to break into investment banking or private equity, where you really got to know your stuff, right? That's incredibly important. So I don't think it's as serious like that. But it is similar in the sense you go through your applications, you're sending in your CVs and your cover letters, and then you go through your first round, second round interviews. And I only had to do one in-person interview. I was interviewed by Danny. He's the VP of underwriting at Bancorp, because that's what the internship was for, underwriting these commercial mortgages. And that went very well, and I've enjoyed working under him ever since then. And I've learned a lot. He's great at what he does. Incredible.
That's awesome. And so can you break down the differences in real estate? So from the investment, people say they're doing real estate investments. What's that versus brokerage versus development?
We're a private lender.
Okay.
So we actually finance the projects.
I see.
And that typical conventional, CIBC, RBC, BMO, they won't touch. Because in Canada, you're only going to get conventional financing from CIBC if you're West Bank or Ani. But if you're a small-time developer, it's very hard for you to get conventional financing from these banks or even CMHC loans. So there's a big gap in the market that we're able to fill in there.
So what is then the investment side of it? What is the brokerage side?
So even within real estate, there's different kinds of brokerage. You've got mortgage brokerage, which is kind of what we do a little bit at Bancorp, which is finding the deals. Let's find the developers that need financing. But then there's also brokerage on the side. Okay, who wants to buy this rental building? Or then you got brokerage on like even the smaller side of that, where who wants to buy this 1-bedroom condo? so there's many levels to it in real estate, but so you said brokerage and what else?
Investments.
Investment. Yeah, so like rates. That's more probably that, but that's probably more like the base rate, Wall Street side of investing, more than it would be on the real estate side. On the real estate side of investing, I think it's predominantly more like investing in these kind of real estate funds, like Bancorp does with income-based funds.
So I feel like there's a very interesting time in real estate right now. Is there something else you see that's like looks exciting? Is there a trend in real estate right now where it's like this looks like a good opportunity to kind of get into this branch of real estate?
Mm-hmm. So I think right now, I think there's a lot of opportunity in residential real estate. I think that there'll be a construction boom, which means a lot of supply will be brought onto the market, and Canada needs it. We have some of the most unaffordable houses in the world, right? Canadians can't afford homes. Young Canadians can't even fathom the idea of buying a home. We have the lowest housing supply out of any OECD country or any other developed G20 nation. We have the slowest approval time to get a general construction permit in the OECD. The only country we're better than is the Slovak Republic. Germany, America, France, the UK, they're all approving building permits faster than we are. So developers in those countries are able to bring supply to the market. If you're a developer in Canada, you're sitting on your property, paying property taxes, paying the interest on the debt on that property, which is millions and millions of dollars, for years before you can get the zoning approval, before you can get the permitting necessary to break ground and actually start building. So the biggest problem in the Canadian real estate industry is the regulation. And so if we continue this trend of deregulating housing and construction, I think there'll be a massive construction boom. And I think there'll be a lot of money to be made in the construction of residential homes. You mentioned office.
Yeah, like corporate.
There's a lot of negative sentiment right now surrounding office real estate. People say work from home is the future. We're not going to need these office spaces where companies are spending like $50, $60 a square foot on rent. I think that's a temporary fad. Yeah. I don't think that'll be around forever. I think there'll always be a demand and a need for downtown urban workspaces, especially the ones for law firms, accounting firms, banks. I don't see work from home as a threat to the office space as a sector. And I think people think that anyone who like these jobs. I think these jobs that people are saying I'm going to work from home. I think AI is going to take their job. Because if you're not going to come into the office, might as well have AI do it. Or hire someone who's going to come in and be more productive in the office. Mm-hmm. I think employers are realizing that employees are more productive in the office. Because when I need something, I don't need to send an email and then wait 30 minutes to get a response back with what I need. I can walk 30 feet down the hallway and say, hey, Billy, I need this sheet or whatever, right? So I think employers are realizing the productivity benefits they have of having their employees back in the office full time. Even for me, I prefer to work in the office. I'm more productive in the office. I like to show up every morning in the office. It keeps you part of your routine. And I know that's not the same for everybody, but I don't foresee a world where office space becomes irrelevant. I think there'll always be a need for office space. And these urban workspaces downtown where people are able to have these sanctuaries, just like where you have at home and you're able to live and relax at home, you have to have a place where you can go and be productive, and you can get your work done and create value. And with all this work from home trend and I think COVID, which kind of disrupted the office market a lot, I think all those fears are way overblown, and that office will be around forever.
You know what, your answer is really giving me like a flashback to the summer when we had a conversation, and you were kind of giving me almost like a stock pitch.
Yeah, REIT, Allied Properties.
It was a REIT, Allied Properties. Yep. Do you want to get into that? Okay, we're not giving financial advice. I'm not giving you...
Yes, this is not financial advice. Do not take anything we say serious.
Yeah, do your research. But if you want to talk about that a little bit, we'd love
absolutely.
to hear that.
Allied Properties, Canadian REIT. They own some of the best office real estate in Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, Ottawa, Kitchener, Calgary, all over the country. Downtown, urban financial district, the best real estate. Their stock price is like 1970. I think it closed out on Friday. $2.7 billion market cap, 11 billion in assets. I think 4.5 billion or something in debt. So that should be like $7 billion of equity there. But why is the market cap trading at 2.7 billion? So you give massive discount opportunity to buy office real estate. So the market's pricing in, a massive discount on office real estate because they think, okay, work from home is not going is a threat. AI is a threat, right? So maybe we don't see the same demand for these, huge office spaces downtown anymore in the long run. And also, the interest rates and debt, that has a big thing to do with it. But overall, I have a very bullish view on office real estate, and that reflected in that is my position in Allied. But if we look at what they've been doing as a business, they've been increasing the quality of their assets. So if you look at the recent transactions, which closed 400 West Georgia and 19 Duncan, 400 West Georgia's in Vancouver, 19 Duncan's in Toronto. You look at the building; those are trophy assets. Those buildings will be fetching the highest rents per square foot out of any other building in their city. They're the nicest, newest, best buildings. So if we see Allies taking advantage of this downturn in the market to upgrade the quality of their holdings, and so I think the future upside there is tremendous. Because they're going to own and operate the best office buildings in the downtown urban centers of Canada's best cities. And then I think that when interest rates continue to come down, we see in the Bank of Canada cut rates 50 bips on the 23rd. That's a big move. That's a big jumbo cut. I was happy to see that. So as we see these rates cuts come down, I think that's going to be great for real estate, especially all these REITs who are incredibly sensitive to debt and whose stock prices trade inversely to interest rates. So overall, just every fundamental here is signaling buy.
Did he end up convincing you?
Yes.
Yeah.
He did. I hope that convinced you.
No, it definitely did.
But,
so I think, because when interest rates come down, the debt servicing, because they all have variable debt on these open rate loans, so their debt servicing costs come down. But then also institutional investors now have a cheaper risk premium, right, from government bonds to equities markets, right? So I think we'll see slowly, we'll see more money flow into these higher risk dividend assets. And Allied pays a 10% dividend right now, $1.80 a year distributed monthly, 15 cents a share.
Yeah, pretty high.
9.9% dividend.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Allied Properties.
There you go. You collect
Do your
the cash
research
flow,
first.
You collect the cash flow, and you got that upside.
Yeah.
I guess continuing on the topic of office space and that kind of realm, what are your thoughts on WeWorks?
WeWork.
Yeah.
Co-working space?
Yeah, because you hear a lot about, obviously WeWork had its success and then it had its fall and then things
Big
happened.
collapse. That was what Adam Newman, I believe. I think there's a TV show or movie series on him. I haven't watched that yet. I want to watch that. So basically, what WeWork would do was they'd find a big office tower. They say, hey, Josh, you own this big office tower. Okay, let me rent out 5 floors from you. Okay, so they're going to rent out these 5 floors, and they renovated them very nicely. They put small offices, like dozens of small offices and hot desks. So it kind of looks like a library, like a campus library. You got desks where anyone can come sit down and work, but then you got small little phone booths you can go in and work privately, or bigger booths. So it's very flexible. And their selling point is that, okay, you're gonna come in and let's say you're a freelance photographer or something, and GW's got to edit his photos one day, and he needs a place to work. He can come in and 2-3 days a week or whatever he needs to, and he has a place to work. He doesn't actually have to pay for a physical brick and mortar office space where he has to pay thousands of dollars a month every month. He can kind of buy a small portion of it, and then he'll share that with the thousands of other people, of other members. So it's kind of like a similar business model to a gym, where the gym would kind of lease out a warehouse, put the equipment in it, and have 10,000 members, and then just hopefully never there's 10,000 people in the gym at once.
Yeah.
Co-working space, I think, has a future, because again, it's the freedom. It's like if you're a freelancer, you're a photographer, or whatever, you don't even have to be. You could just be an employee, but you have the freedom to go to any city, anywhere, and have a place to work. So I think there's definitely demand for that. and I believe Allied actually has co-working components in their portfolio of their office buildings. So some floors they have been actually converted into similar services like that.
Are you aware of like what's happened with Airbnb and like the new rule of primary housing or secondary housing?
So I think Airbnb has always had struggles regulation-wise when it comes to that. So I know, for example, in Squamish and Tofino, you can only put your unit or house on Airbnb if that is your principal residence. So that means as an investor, if I have a principal residence, I own my own home, and I want to go buy a second home in Squamish or Tofino, these are very tourist markets, right, with lots and lots of Airbnb demand, I can't go there and buy a unit and then put it on Airbnb. I need to get a license from the local municipal government, right, in order to put my unit on Airbnb. And in order to get that license, I need to prove that that's my principal residence, right? And so I don't think there's many investors, Airbnb investors out there that are gonna say some condo in Squamish is a principal residence and their mansion is not. I think a lot of it has to do from the hotel industry lobbying governments to treat Airbnb like with the same regulations that they regulate hotels with.
Yeah.
Because it's not the same, right? It's not the same. Yeah. They're not treated the same. But I think at least a lot of the backlash against Airbnb in Canada we're seeing is not anti-Airbnb, but it's just we're so desperate for housing supply and affordable housing. But attacking Airbnb, that's not the solution. The solution is to what? Build more homes. Yeah. And to do that, we need to get the government out of the way.
I guess going back to your rant about Canadian housing and how like the market is so poor. It's funny you say that because we just had an exam. Like it was the GMM exam, so like global macro. I don't know if you took it.
I'm not in it.
Yes, okay. One of the two questions was actually about the housing problem, and it took the stance in that there's a trilemma, and you need to explain why you can only solve two of the problems without having a third like solution. And the three problems were like aggressive immigration, focusing on housing starts, and then increasing general productivity in like other sectors. And like you can't have, obviously if you do aggressive immigration, you focus on housing starts, you're going to be less productive because you're focusing on the like housing sector. I'm curious, like what would your thoughts be for that? And if you had to go about answering that question in a way that you could solve?
As Canadian, I think we need to focus on building affordable homes and improving the productivity of Canadians. We got to put Canadians first. Our country's struggling. And young Canadians can't afford a home. They can work for 50 years and maybe then just think about paying a down payment for a home, but then homes would have gotten more expensive. Yeah. Productivity. In Canada, Canadian worker productivity is not where it used to be. We're losing to the Americans. I think it's for every hour we work, the Americans produce like 30-40% more in value than us. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And I think we got to start investing in Canadians.
Why do you think we're less efficient than we used to be then?
Because money is getting invested in America, not Canada. More money is being invested in American factories to make American workers more productive. But that money is not going into Canada because people don't want to deal with the regulation and taxes in Canada.
Yeah. Well, why start a business in Canada when you can start one in the US?
Exactly.
We've all heard about how fascinating this world of real estate is. And especially now, so the industry changing, monumental things happening all the time. How would you recommend starting your career in real estate? Let's say now you're a university student, either first or third year. What steps would you take? What major firms would you look at? What specific branches do you think is the most exciting to pursue within real estate?
Absolutely. So I think networking is incredibly important. They say, what is it? Your network is your net worth. I totally buy it. I believe it 100%. The most networking success I found was at in-person events. So I'll shout out REC again, Western Real Estate Club. They had a case competition hosted by Guelph in Toronto at Deloitte's head offices. And I met people from all over North America there, from University of Washington, from Texas, Florida, California, to other schools in Ontario, right? So I met people in real estate from literally all over North America. And then they had like a networking social event after like cocktail hour after that, and then there you get to meet people from all over real estate, execs, and the ratio from like students to execs is like 1-to-1. So basically, everyone is guaranteed to have like 15 minutes with at least half a dozen people probably. And I want to go up to as many people as I can, shake their hand, say hi, I'm James Park, whatever who are you? Tell me about your business. What do you do? Why do you love it? Tell me more. I think it's just putting your face out there and really getting to know people. Making sure that you have, you kind of have a conversation with them where they'll remember your name and remember who you are. I think that's where I found the most success. Because you send LinkedIn messages, or emails, your response rate isn't that good. But I think, and it's different when you're able to go up to someone and walk up to them and face to face and just say, hey, how are you? And engage in an actual substantial conversation there, right? And engage in a conversation, right? So I remember I met a gentleman from Crest Point in Toronto, and he worked in the debt division at Crest Point, and they literally doing exactly what Bancorp does, and that's financing development projects. And I was able to speak with him, and he gave me more time than he gave anybody else. So I think it's just like being able to connect with the individual that you're speaking to. I think that's also incredibly important, and to ensure that okay, I'm not gonna forget this guy. So just to put a face to your name.
Also, I think that's like something that has been consistent over everyone we've asked this question to, is that you said it well. Your network is your network.
Yeah.
What does a real estate interview look like? Are there technicals you have to prepare for this?
Mm-hmm. I think the interview recruiting process for real estate is very different than investment banking. I think I said that earlier. It's far less structured, far less rigid, in the sense that like you got to be less like, so you don't need to be as like trained in the sense that you got to do, know how to do a paper LBO, and you got to be able to pitch this stock, and you got to understand this and or prepare. I don't know, because I've seen my friends prepare like pages and pages and pages and pages for their IB and PE interviews, and I did not have to do anything close to that. I think it's more so about just like making sure you demonstrate your interest in the industry, but your passion and your dedication as well. So, and then in terms of the interviews, I think it was far less technical questions. Like there was no instance where I had to pull out a piece of paper and start doing math, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so it's all these behaviorals, like just see if you're a genuine good person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then which firms will you be looking at to follow?
If you're looking to get into real estate, there's a couple of different things you could focus on. Do you want to be a developer? Do you want to be a broker? If you want to be a broker, there's big brokerage firms like Avis & Young, Colliers, JLL. If you want to go into like the debt side, I know Crest Point, they do that. If you want to go into like a REIT, you want to manage an office REIT, you go Allied Properties, you got RealCan if you want to do a little bit of retail. So there's all these different kinds of things that within real estate that are kind of subcategories of business in general, right? Because brokerage is a big category. So real estate, there's literally everything you can do, versus private equity is kind of a limited selection of what you can do. Investment banking is a limited selection. In real estate, you can pretty much do anything. So that's what I actually really like about the industry, is that freedom that it has. So if you're interested in real estate, you got to look at, okay, first, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to be a builder? Do you want to be a broker? Okay, if you want to be a broker, do you want to be a mortgage broker where you're working with builders and lenders, or do you want to be a broker where you're selling actual already pre-built rental buildings? Do you want to go into residential? Do you want to go into office? Do you want to go into industrial? So I think you got to find, what are you passionate about? What are your strengths? Some people are great at residential because they can go and, they have the vision. They can stand here and say, I can imagine a home, what a home's going to look like, right? And that's incredibly important, because some sites, building sites are suitable for residential and some aren't, right? So you got to have that vision if you want to be a residential builder. So I think, you really got to reflect on yourself and say, okay, what are my strengths? What do I want to do? And then you can go from there in the sense of, okay, what company do I want to go to work for and everything. It's kind of like if you want to break into investment banking, or you want to break into whatever, you say, okay, what sector do I want to go into, right? Do I want to go into tech? Do I want to go into metals and mining? Do I want to go into oil and gas? And then from there, that'll, dictate, the next steps that you're going to take.
I think it's really important that you touch on it because I think a lot of people don't even think about that. They put the blinders on. I want investment banking, but they have no idea what industry interests them. They have no idea what any of the industries are, and they just want to go in and like, do a rotational program and expect to like kind of touch everything a little bit. But like that's not the case. You need to know. You need to know like, oh, in Vancouver I'm going to be working on metal.
Exactly.
In Calgary I'm going to be working
in
on
oil and gas. Yeah.
And in Toronto that's when it starts to open up, and in New York that's when it opens up again. But yeah, I think that's really important that you touch on it because so many people.
Because I met people, they want to go into building management, right? Building management, that's totally different than value add, which is totally different than brokerage, and which is totally different than building.
Yeah.
So, you got to decide what you want to do. You got to find your niche or whatever you want to call it, and then go on that. I guess if you want to look at like a YouTube video of day in the life in real estate. I watch like Ben Mallow on YouTube for that. He takes a camera with him on. He's a big property owner. He owns hotels and apartment buildings, mostly residential stuff, and he follows the camera through his daily life. But when I say that, do your research, more so I mean you got to kind of reflect on yourself and decide for you what you want to do, and then research and make sure that that's what you want to do.
Interesting.
Okay. So if I'm saying I want to go into commercial mortgage brokerage. Okay, I got to go into that and look. Okay, am I interested in basically selling mortgages, selling debt? Is that something I'm interested in, or am I more interested in selling buildings, or am I more interested in buying existing run-down buildings, renovating them, adding value, and then exiting? Right. So it's what do you really want to do every day for the rest of your life, and then. I think you'll be able to figure out what you want to do from there.
Actually, I do have another follow-up question to that. In the case that someone decides they want to change what they want to do down the road,
That happens a lot.
Is it easy to lateral over to another part of real estate? Because obviously, like real estate knowledge is universal. Like you can apply stuff to it. Is it easy to go from let's say broker to developer or something?
Absolutely. That's probably easier than other sectors.
Okay.
It's harder for a mining lawyer to go in and start trying to build his own mine, but it's probably incredibly easy for a real estate lawyer who has all the real estate connections, who knows everyone on the finance end to the building end to the legal end and regulatory end to go in and start building his own buildings. So I think it's incredibly easy to make lateral transitions in real estate because it's the same everywhere. A cap rate in an office building is a cap rate on a residential building is a cap rate on an industrial building. But I mean, then you spent let's say you spent 20 years specializing in one thing, and then why would you want to make that change into something that you've never done before? So I don't know.
I mean, that's awesome. I think that you shared some great insights today. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed the conversation, everything.